was born in 1986 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here I am with my mum and dad and my older sister. I moved to the UK age 3. We lived in Dulwich before moving to the Gloucester estate in Peckham. I went to Brunswick Park Primary School in Camberwell. I was so good at football. At the time I was in year 3, I was playing for the year 5 team, and year 4 I was playing for the year 6 team. This is what I wanted to do with my life, become a footballer. However, but growing up where we grew up, you get influenced by others. I'm sure by now most of you have heard the story of how I was recruited as a Peckham boy. If you haven't seen it, it's the most watched video on my YouTube channel, Big Ego Media. I got caught up in a lifestyle, even though all I wanted to do was play football. And I was still playing football at a very decent level. However, at this point, I was part of a gang. I was part of the younger Peckham boys and also part of the front block crew. That was a group from Woolley Road and Peckham. And in that group, I was there with my friend, Clamper, as we called him. Here he is in the top right-hand corner of the frame.
This is Big Clamp from the original funk block, on the grind, on the streets. It's local funk block. How they bust this year, my nigga Ski, my nigga Nerves, my nigga Kilo, Double O, all those niggas about the grind. I got love for them. I do anything for those niggas, yeah. Hold up, it's Clamp, yeah.
And here you can find me also on that same DVD called Block Patrol.
Listen, yeah, I'm selling my car, yeah. East London, yeah. I'm trying to get rid of my car. It's a Chrysler S-Reg, automatic. I think that it's coloring. You wanna buy it, get away. On the fence, put me all 7 and 5. I got the keys right here, yeah. So when you want it, just call me. I'll sell it. Kinda dodgy though. The special ain't working.
At this point, I'm involved in the roles, but I'm also still trying to play football. And back in 2020, I done a video about an incident that I had with Clamper. So I turned into the back bit going towards Queen's Road, and because police cars are everywhere now. So a police car drives past me, right? A police car drives past me. It looks at me, doesn't do anything. It goes past. Now, me and him always have beef over this all the time. We even spoke about this last week, yeah. And he won't admit he was in the wrong. Police cars drove past me. They've not said anything to me, yeah? They've gone past me, yeah? And they've gone towards him. So he's maybe like 30, 40 yards ahead of me, and they've stopped him. So I'm thinking, fuck that, they stopped Clamper, yeah? So I've kept it moving. I'm going on the other side, yeah? And then like they're talking to him. I'm like, I don't know this guy, let me keep it moving. And he's like, listen to him. He's like, nah. I'm with, what you call it? That's my bridge in there. Yo, Mona, come. I'm thinking, Mona. I'm like, nah, man. I kept doing. He go, yo, I'm with my friend. They're like, yeah, excuse me, mate, stop there. I'm like, what's going on? Come here, please. I'm like, what? Yeah. Hang on. So they're on their radio, and they went, yeah. We got some suspects. We're arresting you guys on suspicion of attempted murder. I'm like, what? Attempted murder? How? Where? They put us in the car. I'm looking at Clamp. I'm pissed with Clamp. Like, why the fuck did you call me over? So this should have been my first red flag about him. But you know what? He was mandem. We kept it moving. And as time goes by, I'm getting deeper and deeper into the roads. I'm now robbing security vans. We're making decent amount of money. But then tragedy will hit when 2 of my friends will be killed over proceeds of the money. For my part in robberies, I'll end up serving the next 8 years of my life in prison. And at this point, I didn't see Clamper, I didn't really see the mandem. Immediately after coming out of prison, I made a plan to start a football club. I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own football team to help the young people. I got a lovely lady by the name of Rana to become our first club chairman, and I went on a whirlwind of promoting and marketing the football team. Anywhere we could volunteer, we did, with the Hackney Wick Women's Institute, with the Run Hackney Marathon, with the Abney Park Festival. Everywhere we could go, we were there supporting the local people of Hackney. I hadn't seen Brian for 8 years. and I told him all about this football club I was starting. But when I spoke to a lot of the man, they said, yeah, we don't really fuck with Brian like that. But I was like, nah, man, Brian's good people, man. What's going on? That's Clamp, man. What are you man saying? Clamp had told me that he started a new company called CMI World. And he said, you know what? With this idea of your football club, let me help you. When I asked Brian what does CMI World do, he's like, yeah, we're sort of a community development project company, and we'll help Hackney Wick Football Club, so you can get people to donate to Hackney Football Club using us. I was like, cool. And he had himself as a development project manager. I was like, all right, cool. It sounds like something promising. So I'm like, cool, we'll go with that, because that's Brian, that's Clamp. He's been working in this industry. He knows what he's talking about. He had other people on there as well, including another research insight person and someone called S. Lightfoot Taylor, who's the education consultant. Remember that name? Obviously, I'm fresh out of jail. Money is a bit tight, but Clamp's like, yo, I'll register hackneywickfc.com as a domain for you. Say nothing. I'm like, I appreciate it, bro. That means a lot, man. This was my first mistake. But anyway, Hackney Wick FC is booming at this time. I'm getting lots of sponsorship. Got Audio Time, East London Brewery, Lowison's Pub. We played our first ever game against Thurrock FC. We're winning 5-a-side tournaments. Everything's going really well for Hackney Wick Football Club, and I'm proud of myself. I just come out of jail, and I'm doing this within the first 3 or 4 months. We're winning awards. We started a women's team at the same time as well. They're doing well, the 11-a-side team. But let me also take you back to our first ever event.
It's the kind of creation and idea of one man, Bobby Kasanga, founder of the club.
Surrounding boroughs like Islington's got Arsenal, Haringey's got Tottenham, and Newham's got West Ham. So I thought I'll start a team in Hackney, and this is what brought the crowd out today.
Reached out to a lot of Hackney Wickers. I'm one of them, lived in the area for 6 years.
It's not a reaction to a negative thing.
We've kind of seen the evolution of a club on social media, and it's been really fantastic to see.
Bobby's has used his time in Hackney as an inspiration to unify them really, and hopefully bring everyone together, and that's why our borough, our club is the motto that we're all about.
I'm also sort of the player liaison. I'm also one of the players as well, so I'm on the committee, so I try to get involved as much as I can in every capacity.
It's like a community project, which is brilliant. It's really, really good, and they've got people out in force to support it, and I think established football clubs could really learn some lessons.
So I'm still fresh out of jail, still broke, getting a few little sponsorship there, but I need a job, so I started working at Mr. Bagels, doing night shifts at a factory literally in Hackney Wick, right by the station. At the same time, myself and some of the players are outside fundraising, ask people to donate to our football club, and it's helping us sustain the football team, and we're doing pretty well at it. This was also raising awareness about the football club. However, we're told that Mr. Bagels is about to close down because it's being bought by property developers called H Group. I reached out to the CEO of H Group, which was a gentleman named Henry Smith. I told him about my story, and he immediately resonated, and he even said, you know what? You can keep working for the football club and I'll pay your salary. So I didn't have to work for the bagel factory no more. All I had to do was run Hackney Wick Football Club, and he will pay me monthly. In the meantime, Clamper's company CMI World wasn't doing too well. And in 2017, they actually folded and dissolved without making any money at all. By now, Brian saw the success of Hackney Wick Football Club and was getting more involved. He was volunteering at our events and said he was an expert at being able to apply for funding. So I was like, great, Brian, come on board. Because of how I marketed the club and social media, we was absolutely everywhere, all over the news and TV shows.
I mean, life in the gangs wasn't a great experience. As you know, Peckham is sort of a rough area, and I thought, why not combine the two? Views into the right direction, so we got the campaign for Breeze, and then things just escalated.
Not being entirely honest with you, you're here
because even two of the victims, I can't count on my fingers and toes how many.
As you know, we're out here united against knife crime.
Getting into more involved.
You think twice about carrying a knife. You think, oh, proud of these youths, we're the first semi-professional football club.
I might say I want to be an architect, so we say, okay, go away.
Hoje cercam apenas o campo comunitário.
But we're looking at the prosecutor like, come on, give me a chance, mate. Like, for doing petty street robberies. Well, it don't matter what community you're from, because we had rappers coming from all over the place, from North London.
All sort of course, because maybe 4 days later I got arrested.
you want to achieve? What is it you want to be? I want to let you guys know you can do it. That brings people together, and I want to bring the youth together. And the borough that we lived in, Hackney, didn't have its own football club, so I thought, what better way than to unite the kids who want to come and watch the first team play. So we've got our youth teams who all train and play here, and on a Saturday. And it's just about who actually owns it. There's so many things that need to be done. We can say more police, but it's not only that. There's been cuts in services for the last 10, 15. Is that changing lives? Yeah, 100%. I mean, for us, we know that most of the kids that come to our football club are not to be professional footballers. But what can we teach them, why we put them? So seeing the spate of knife crime, how much has risen in the capital.
Do you feel like you're making a difference in lives, really making a difference?
No, 100%, because we've got the kids with us who have been involved in gangs, who've been involved in that lifestyle, and when I come into us, we're This was something that H Group also saw and sought to capitalise on, as he had got a bit of bad publicity. So in 2017, we came together to create the Wickers charity, which was launched in 2018. The Wickers charity being named after the football club, Hackney Wick, because our nickname was the Wickers. Brian, however, wasn't happy with this and was moving very anti towards the merger. H Group put me on a £28,000 a year salary, which was decent for me after just coming out of jail. Brian wanted a more senior role, and in the end he wasn't offered a role because he was told he had to work with the youth centre with us. But Brian felt because of his experience working in project development and community development that he deserved something better. Brian was tasked by myself to make sure he got us funding and create partnerships. And to be fair to him, between 2016 and 2018, he got us funding of at least up to £30,000. And at this point, the club was getting lots of global attention with a sponsorship deal from Nike, doing campaigns with BT Sports and winning many awards along the way. In 2019, I created the 32 Borough Cup, bringing together 600 youths from every single borough in London. By this point, I had left H Group and wanted to venture by myself. Brian was tasked to help us get funding, and by this point, he wasn't getting any funding at all, and most of his bids were very unsuccessful. So I started writing the grants myself, and all of a sudden we was getting grants. So I was like, okay, if I'm doing all these other things and I'm also getting the grants, what exactly is your role? The work we was doing in the community was second to none, which got us an invite to Downing Street, a visit from the London Mayor. But I'd realised I was doing all the work. So back in 2020, I asked Brian, if I'm doing all of this and I'm also getting the grants and funding and partnerships and sponsorships and doing the work with the kids, getting them jobs, getting them opportunities, going to visit prisons, going to visit schools, what is your role? His only response was ever, I'm working on our strategy. I've been doing this for years. You don't know. You was in prison. You don't know how community development works. I was like, okay, I don't know how community development works, but I'm working in the community developing things. What is it that you are doing? He would say, you wait and see. You'll see in the long term. You wait and see. I was waiting and seeing to the point where he got frustrated. But you know what? It was my boy. I was like, you know what? Let's keep the rules going. Let's see how things go. Maybe he's got something under his sleeve that's going to make something happen. Because in the meantime, I'm just working. I'm making things happen. I'm creating opportunities. I'm getting us out there. Let's see what Brian's going to do. So because of all the work we was doing in the community and it was very successful, we got the attention of many funders. One of the funders actually awarded us a large sum of money. But they said for us to give you this money, we want you to register the football club as a company. So I was going to register Hackney Wick Football Club as a CIC. But Brian said, nah, you know what? Let's create a new organisation. Let's do Grassroots for Good CIC. I said, you know what? He's my guy. I'm frustrated with him, but hopefully this will give him the leg up to go out there and actually do the work. So you know what? Let's own Grassroots for Good 50-50 and let's go and work. This here was my biggest mistake. So Grassroots for Good was created with both myself and Brian as equal directors to make decisions. This was an entity separate to Hackney Wick Football Club. I asked Brian to set up the bank account. And I asked one of our players who just graduated as an accountant to be our club and company accountant. And what he would do, he would ask for the bank statements each month, see what was spent, ask for proof of the expense, i.e. an invoice, a receipt, and that was to be sent over. However, when the accountant would ask Brian for the bank statements, he would always make excuses, going back to, oh, check the Hackney Wick FC one. The accountant would tell him, yes, I do check the Hackney Wick FC one all the time. But Brian would continue to make excuses to the point that the accountant would then have to message me. At this point, I didn't have access to online banking for the Groceries for Good account, so I had to physically go to the bank to get the bank statement.
Yeah, so I asked him if he could send a statement, and then he just aired me, so I didn't get a response still.
Yeah, I'm going to send the July one. This guy's just waffling. I had to go to the bank yesterday myself to get the hard copy ones, but I'm going to tell him again, send it again. Because like, there's bare things that I saw as well. I'm like, what's this for expense? £450 expenses for what? What do you call it? Like, what trips are you going to? Like, oh, I went to this conference. I'm like, where's the evidence of this conference? I started challenging Brian about some of the expenses he was making on the Groceries for Good account because I couldn't see the work. He was telling people he went to this conference and this trip, and there was trips to hotels and trips to restaurants, but it didn't make any sense to me because I couldn't see the work that he was doing. I then told him we're both directors of Groceries for Good, put me on online banking. He refused, stating that, well, he's not on the Hackney Wick FC bank account, and he doesn't know what's being spent over there. I explained to him, we have an accountant who gets the bank statements every single month, who actually takes account of all the spends and puts it into a spreadsheet. He was insisting that he be put on Hackney Wick FC bank account. I said, I'm not going to do that because it is my club which I created and I already had other people on the account. He was being defensive because he couldn't account or tell me what conferences he went to and why he was spending money on the expenses, which didn't make sense. One of the expenses, he said he bought furniture. I'm like, what furniture did you buy? It doesn't make sense because the office, I've never seen you inside the office. So what furniture is it that you bought? The fact that he wasn't doing any work, which I let slide for time and time again, to the point I even contacted the funders and said, look, I'm not happy. This guy doesn't do any work, right? It was at one point where there was a point of no return. He said to another person who also has access to the Hackney Wick FC account, he turned around and told him, you should check that account properly because don't you remember, Bobby went jail for robbing banks. I said, what did he say? And I saw proof of what he had said. So to show it's not about the money, I contacted our funders and said, you know what? Suspend the funding, cut the funding. I no longer want the funding. They still owed us a substantial amount because I was not going to have someone say those things who doesn't do any work and just sit there and allow him to keep getting money. But from the fact he can go and say that, I said, I can never work with this guy. He then blocked my card for the Grassroots for Good account, which meant I had to go into branch to get the whole account suspended, which it is still to this day. And what he done last week was removed me from company house and put his girlfriend as a director and another woman, the same woman that was on his first company, See My World. A lot of the man, them are like, yo, let's move to him. But I'm like, nah, don't move to him. We're beyond that. We don't do that. We don't encourage violence. We're here to support the youth. Leave him, right? Leave him to it, right? Because at the end of the day, right, he don't do no work. He's got no cohort. Grassroots for Good is not going to last. It's not going to last. He needs my work. Even to this day, he had all my images still on Instagram to try to show some kind of affiliation. I've been telling him to remove my images from like 10 months ago. He's still got my images there. So just to let you guys know, right? I don't work with him. He don't work with me, right? I've not even received a salary from Grassroots for Good for maybe gone 4 months now, right? And I'm aware that he's just had a child recently. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even a bad man like that. You know what? I said, you know what? You got so-called work to do with Grassroots for Good. Cool. Keep half of the money. Send the rest to Hackney Football Club so we can continue doing the work that we do. He refused. Only the other day now he said that he would do that, but he's going to give it to us in installments. I'm like, what the cheek of this guy who I've brought into my organization, who had a failed company in CMI World, hired the same person that he failed in CMI World with again, hired his partner, had the audacity to tell me that, yeah, he would give me installments. So I'll be honest with you guys, right? I'm not even fussed, right? Because we're men out here, and men go out and men go and work, innit? But my whole thing is that, this is something, now I realise why none of the man them checked for him. It all making sense now. But in the meantime, we keep working. We keep doing the work that we need to do. We're getting people jobs. We're getting people opportunities. Young people are calling us to help them. What he does with his life, all the best to him, man. And as he owned the domain to hackneywickfc.com, he tried to change things on our website, which meant I had to get that website deleted and then create hackneywickfootballclub.com. But anyway, we move on. March of 2015, a month after being released from prison, I was walking around with a camera. I see players like this playing football. I walked to them and said, what are you guys doing? I was like, you don't play for a local team? They were like, no. I was like, I'm going to start a football team. They're like, well, I didn't know what the style was. I was wearing bootcut jeans and whatever trainers was. They was all laughing at me like, you can't start no football team. I was like, guys, you guys thought I wasn't going to take this serious. Half am, half not. I said, shut down the prison ciphers. How you mean? Listen though.
Oh, Lord have mercy on my enemies. I just need a reason to let it go. Oh, Lord have mercy on my enemies. If the trigger squeeze, let